Hey guys, Brent Abel with WebTennis.com, and I just wanted to sort of check in with you guys, and I've not done a Periscope broadcast for quite a while, and just wanted to see what you've been working on with your game lately. You know, for me, that's been a pretty good summer of tournaments. You know, starting off down in La Jolla, ended up winning a doubles tournament down there back in the late part of May, and then in June, actually won one Pacific Coast Senior Singles in May in Berkeley, and then the National Hard Courts in June, and you know, had a great tournament. Got semis in both the singles and doubles. Lost to the number one seed in the singles semis, and the longest singles match I've ever played. I think it was like 3 hours and 40 minutes, and then played the national indoors in Minneapolis in August, and you know, again got to the singles semis, lost again the number one seed, the same guy, Brian Cheney, but my doubles partner and I, Frank Zebo, we ended up winning the bronze in the double. So it's been a good summer for me tournament wise, but I'm ready to get re-engaged with you guys. Literally on a daily basis. And, you know, today what I'd love to do is just kind of check in and just see what you're working on, if anything, with your tennis game. You know, for me, I'm always working on that slice backhand, you know, that one-handed slice backhand, because it's such an easier ball to control. And, you know, if you're back in a baseline rally, it's just a great way to stay neutral. Occasionally, yeah, you want to roll some toppers in there to kind of change things. But who's this? Stevie? Oh, okay, Ian. What's going on, brother? The topspin one-hander. Yeah, you know, and for me, the topspin one-hander really is so much about two things. Number one, kind of setting the wrist early, meaning, you know, you find the right grip, you set the grip, not that you lock it down into into the death grip, but you've got to keep it from kind of wobbling around behind you. And then what I do from there is I just think of the back shoulder, you know, really making sure that the swing is coming out of the back shoulder and not getting too loose and flipping floppy with the wrist. But so guys, anyone else? You know, that you got something specific that you're working on. I put an email out there this morning. I was out working out yesterday morning early. Maya and I are down here in the California desert for a while, and it's hot. I mean, it's, you know, by 8 in the morning when I went out to hit yesterday, it was already, I don't know, but I was sweating like a dog and having a great workout with my buddy Owen, and I'm playing next to these guys, like a 4-0-ish group of guys next to us, and the email that I put out this morning, as I was picking up balls, you know, kind of in between drills, I'm watching this guy. He's serving, misses his first serve, then he goes in, hits a kind of an average second serve, and the guy in the ad court kind of loads up for this big slice backhand. I don't know if his intention was chip and charge, but he ends up with this huge setup way above the ball. He just hacks down and, you know, makes contact, and the ball goes up and just kind of pops up and sits right there short, right around the middle of the net. And the server's partner, I mean, it's such a fat sitter. He runs around his backhand to get to an overhead on you know, his right-handed player, and just unloads on this thing. I mean, it's loud and big and nasty, and just before he hits it, the returner's partner is just screaming like he's calling out for his mama. I mean, it was hysterical. Wish I'd had my camera, you know, my video going at that point. But, you know, the email I put out this morning was kind of relating that story, but also saying just, you know, what a huge asset the doubles, the one-handed backhand doubles chip and charge return to serve is. And, you know, there's really kind of, I think there's sort of 5 things. I mean, if I look at the common denominators between all of the top doubles players, now I'm not talking about, you know, a lot of what we see in the Pro Tour with, you know, the guys gripping and ripping from the baseline, but I'm talking more of, you know, the recreational level doubles and the top age group guys, the top senior guys, all the way down from, you know, the younger guys, 30s all the way up. There's kind of five things that they all do really well, and one of them is that backhand chip and charge return to serve. The other one, obviously, is a second serve. I mean, really having a high bouncing. I don't know if it's necessarily got to be a quote unquote kicker, but thing two is a high bouncing second serve that allows them to get in and sort of neutralizes those guys who want to chip and charge off that return. The third thing is the transitional, is moving through that area. I hate to call it no man's land, but is that transitional area between the baseline and the service line, and being super comfortable in there, not feeling that you got to just run and sprint like a madman, whether you're serving or returning serve from the baseline up to net. I mean, you got to get super comfortable inside that area. What's a half volley or a transitional volley? The fourth thing is kind of this court positioning strategy where you and your partner really can never cover 100% of the court at any given time. I mean, at best you guys can cover 80%, and if you know the court positioning and how to align yourselves as a team into that 80%, then you're really forcing your guys most of the time, your opponents, to have to go for that 20%. You're going to get a lot of unforced errors by forcing them into that 20%. But the other thing, too, is you're going to get some balls that will end up being winners. And then, the fifth thing to me is kind of this mindset. And I should say that, a sixth thing, overhead, I don't think you have to have the biggest scissor kick spike overhead in the world, but you've got to have a real serviceable overhead that, at worst, when they lob you, that you can play the overhead as an approach shot and keep continuing to, live up inside the service line. But the fifth thing, I think, is this mental mindset that until you get the real fat sitter put away opportunity, that you're absolutely comfortable staying in the point. And staying in the point could be you've got, you and your partner up at net and some guys back in the baseline just gripping and ripping. And, all you're doing is just laying another volley back there to this guy, and letting him have at it again, but being super comfortable that it's okay to stay in the point until you really get the ball that you want. And I'm telling you, if you've got that mindset and you're comfortable to just lay volleys back there, just stay in the point and not force having to end the point with a winner, most of the time you're going to force that opponent into an unforced error. So, guys, let me get, after that little rant, let me get back to, let me know, again, if there's something that you're working on with your game right now. I'd be really curious. I think Ian mentioned that his top spin backhand. Anyone else got anything that you're working on? I love to get out. I mean, I really love to get out here in the desert. And the grass courts are closed right now. They go through about a 4 to 6 week period every fall where they shut down the grass courts, they reseed them, and they're in that process right now, man. They are just beautiful, though. I mean, they're going to be ready, I think, what's today? Today is the 14th. They're going to be ready the 22nd, so about another 7-8 days. And I'm telling you, they are just drop dead gorgeous. It's emerald green. And then you've got these mountains in the background here at Palm Springs, and it's pretty spectacular. But we've also got some clay courts here, and I love getting out in the clay to really work on my game, to work on the strokes, and I just think that's kind of an important factor in terms of our improvement is finding out, hey, look, here's a reality check. I've just played a couple matches, and either making unforced errors or just really don't know how to kind of work this shot. And when I was here last winter, I think I had a streak of like 69 or 70 days in a row where I did not miss footwork. Trying to concentrate, I was getting sideways, no open stance. Good, terrific. Let me address that in just a second. But the mistake I made after 69 or 70 days of playing literally every day was I kind of had this mindset, well, if I just go out there and if I grind away, let's say I was working on my forehand, if I just grind away, eventually it's going to come to me. And, I think you can make some improvement that way. But I think the process is much more, you've got to know specifically what are the fundamentals. What are the elements of that stroke? and then you've got to be able to work on each one of those elements. And when you miss, and you're going to miss, you're going to make some errors as you're going through this learning curve, is rather than getting ticked off and pissed off and going, well, this isn't working, I got to try something else, is to go back and say, what I really wanted to do instead was, and then go through that thing and just do a dry run, just kind of dry rehearse it, and then go back to hitting balls. So let me get to the footwork and getting sideways and not getting too open stance. Look, when I was learning how to get good, this was a long time ago, back in the early '80s, and I was seeing Tom Stowe, and I was working like a dog to try to get better, and I'd go out and practice, and this one guy at the Berkeley Tennis Club, a guy named Bill Crosby, who at one time was ranked number 1 in the United States in the men's open doubles. This was back in the early '60s. But he came to me. He said, "You know what? You've been doing a great job on this. There's only one thing you really need to do now." And I said, "Well, what is the one thing? I mean, if there's only one thing I really want to work on," he just said, "Well, here it is. I mean, you got to make sure that you get into the setup position, the proper setup position for every shot first every time." And he said, if you don't, then you're kind of improvising. And so obviously that's all about footwork. So, it's one thing to say, well, I got to move my feet a lot, I got to get in the right hitting position. But if you don't know what that hitting position is, if you don't know what the spacing is away from the path of the incoming ball, the spatial distance you want to be from the ball at contact, then it's just kind of a hit and miss. It's just kind of, you never really know. So what I would do is really work on, first of all, identifying, let's say you're working on a topspin forehand groundy cross court. And the first thing I would do is I would try to understand what's the distance you want to be away from the ball when it's at the ideal point of contact. And once you identify that, then the first thing you do when you see an incoming ball is you've got to create that spacing. And the swing part, if you've got the right spacing, is really pretty darn simple. The swing mechanics, as long as you're not sort of, trying to go crazy and sort of rafa the thing, if you're going really, really simplicity on it, if you got the right spacing, you can create a real repeatable, dependable, consistent shot. So that would be the first thing is to do that. I mean, think about golfers. What do golfers do? I mean, the ball's sitting there. Do they have to run over to it? No. I mean, the ball's sitting there, so the first thing they do is they align their feet so they have the right spatial distance away from that ball, that when they swing and make contact, it's right where they want it to be. I mean, we don't have that luxury. Our ball is moving, and plus we have this huge area of the court we got to cover, so we've got to move too. So if you really want to become consistent with your shot making, do that first. Make sure that you've got the understanding of what's the right spatial distance away from the ball at contact. So, guys, I got to get back to work. Ian, if you're still on the call, working on this new platform, ClickFunnels, and the learning curve for me has been pretty darn significant. So I'm spending a lot of time with that, but I just think I'm going to be able to deliver better content to you on a more timely basis, on a more regular basis. And just like I was saying about with the stroke mechanics, once you get the spacing, I want to make things so simple, so clean, so clear that my instruction is really going much more in that direction. So, guys, hey, thanks for tuning in today. And if you want to get in touch with me, my email is brent@webtennis.com. Just shoot me an email if you have a question about your game. You can leave me a detailed voicemail on my private message system, 925-268-0211. And as always, no excuses. Get out there and make it another great day. All right, guys, we'll see you soon.